Coldplay, and don't worry, there's no wrong answer.
I don't like him. Sorry.
Thank you. Elizabeth, I'm half serious about this, but Barbara Dunkelman is someone I look up to in terms of comedy. Would you tell her to please go on DeviantArt and search the hashtag Punkelman?
Punkelman.
I'm serious. Sure. I'm very dedicated.
Punkelman.
All right. But something else you said earlier kind of spoke to me. I think it was about improv. When it comes to acting, there's ways that we can like study and try to improve ourselves, like improv, or and I think I mentioned it when you were sitting down. I work at customer service. I literally had to just run to get here. Just basic interactions, just to improve. But what about if someone feels there's something on their resume, not like shady or anything, but in a way that like it's off key? Like there's a community online I follow called Riggers. They take anime or sometimes cartoons and parody them, but it doesn't always work out because YouTube system isn't perfect. If they feel that kind of invalidates them from working with, say, Funimation, although there are those who have like Amberly Connors and Howard Wang, what would you say to them? Do you think they should stop, or do you think they should find a different way to go about it?
I think they should continue to explore their creativity, man. And I know that sometimes people will be offended or take issue with it, but I think that there's really, you can't curtail, you can't say like, yeah, that's not the right way to do it.
The production value is because of just like a copyright. That's the only real thing I think it's holding them back.
Pirates is one thing, but to explore one's creativity is another. And I am all in favor of the latter, personally.
I guess at the end of the day, what I would say is it's your life and your career, and you've got to do what you want to do or what you feel comfortable with. So it's like if you're involved in something that you like don't fully feel comfortable doing, then I would say you need to maybe kind of look into that a little bit more within yourself and see what's up with that. Otherwise, your career and your life is like a long-term thing, and I try to make choices in my own career and life that I'm just like, at the end of the day, like I gotta live with myself and I want to do what's going to make me happy, and hopefully everything else will fall into place. And I don't really know what invalidates one from being hired by Funimation or not, but I also am a big advocate of like, if you're worried about something, don't let it stew within you and stress you out and consume you. Like, if you have a chance to like ask or bring it forward, like, do it.
That's actually why I'm asking, because I've grown up watching their content. I really love it. I wanted to, in a way, just ask what you guys thought.
Here's the other thing, Daniel. I don't think that they fully have their finger on the pulse of what's happening in terms of this sort of parody stuff. Like, I honestly don't feel like they pay it a great deal of attention. And in that respect, I don't think that it's something that's going to necessarily exclude you from being considered, if that's the worry.
Well, it's not so much me.
Or anybody who's involved with it, frankly. Unless they're being completely rude and loud enough to get their attention.
Didn't mean really like that either, but honestly, I think that does answer my question, and thank you both.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care, Dan. What's up?
Hi.
How's it going?
I have two questions for both of you.
Okay.
And one of them is, do you have any nicknames for Bakugo and Todoroki?
My nickname for Bakugo is Cliff. Shigaraki, no.
And because there's one, Bakugo is Angry Pomeranian.
It's so true.
Oh wait, I do call him. What is that in your hair?
And for Todoroki, some for Handyman, and there's another one which is inappropriate.
Talk to the hand?
Yeah, let's keep it PG-13 for sure.
No, I think that's in our contract, actually.
And the second one is, what's the hard part of voice acting?
Acting without all your weapons, I'd say. I mean, honestly, to convey everything you need to convey, and it's just your voice. I mean, I know it's a collaboration between your voice and the image in front of you, which makes up for a lot. But you're still, as actors, those of us who have trained as actors, trained with our full bodies, and that, for me, is the challenge.
I also have one thing. Can I have a favor from Jason?
What is it? I mean, I guess that depends. What? Yes, what is it?
Can you do Dabi's voice?
I absolutely can do Dabi's voice.
Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's okay. No, I was just gonna say that for me, once I get the job, it's typically smooth sailing and, sunshine and happiness. It's kind of a lot of the stuff leading up to getting the job that is the hardest part for me, because when you are pursuing, work in this industry on a professional level, you deal with a lot of rejection. We, or I anyways, can audition for dozens and dozens and dozens of projects and not book a single one.
I can do that too. She's being very kind, but I also have experienced this. I'm a little bit older as well, so. Anyway.
So, yeah, just staying optimistic and buoyant in the face of putting yourself out there a lot and getting told no a lot and still kind of having that, enthusiasm and optimism that it's gonna hit, it's gonna land, just keep going.
And make no mistake, it's impossible to maintain this buoyancy throughout. At some point, it's gonna flag. At some point, it's gonna flag. I mean, that's just the nature of it.
We have bad days.
Indeed. But ultimately, you stick with something, you keep at it, you keep fighting, and hopefully eventually you succeed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And also, to give you guys a pat on the back, I feel really lucky in the sense that we as dub actors get to come to these conventions and meet all you guys and be surrounded by you guys, because the energy that I get from the fans at conventions is a huge part of what keeps me going and what makes me feel so good about what I do. So thank you.
Here, you realize that people actually care, actually appreciate this stuff that you've worked so hard on. So, thank you guys, all of you.
Hi, my name's Alexandra.
Hi, Alexandra.
My question is for both of you. If you can pick your favorite quirk out of the whole show, out of the whole anime, what would it be and why?
I would say frappies, because I never get tired of hearing Monica go Reddit. I find that quirk so endearing and kind of a little gross, but in that way that you don't want to stop, you can't turn away from it.
I feel that way a little bit about Justin Cook's characters, his quirk. He can be the hardest. I don't know how to put that without it sounding nasty. He can basically turn himself into diamond when he needs to. That's not nasty, right? I mean it. And Justin's a beautiful dude. He's a good friend of mine. And actually, we've hit it off very recently after knowing him for 15 years. We finally had a couple cons in a row together. And that dude is super cool. If you get a chance to meet Justin Cook, I highly recommend. He is a super nice dude. Anyway, and that's probably the basis why I like his work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have somewhat of a dark question.
Okay.
What do you think of the negative parts of My Hero Academia? If you need an example, I will give you one.
Yes, please.
Just because Midoriya is quirkless does not make him useless. His talent to remember all of the heroes and their quirks is a very useful one indeed. And I don't understand why people would cast him away like that. So I think, in my opinion, the villains are kind of in the right here for wanting to remake the world.
I agree with you.
So, what do you think?
Truth be told, when I watched My Hero Academia, I am, and it has nothing to do with what I play. It's personal taste. I find the villain parts of the show imminently more compelling, and that's where the conflict dwells. It's not like, time lapse classroom stuff. I want to see some stuff, some real stuff. I want to see some stuff happening. So for me, the darkness is where my interest is piqued. I don't know if that's answering your question, but that is my personal opinion.
I'll accept it as an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think your question kind of touches on one of the reasons why this anime has resonated with so many people and why it has become as popular as it has. I feel like there's a lot of like real world stuff going on in this anime, and I think that My Hero Academia does a really good job of highlighting the fact that like the world is not as simple as people oftentimes think it is or would like to believe it is, that there's a lot more gray than there is black and white.
True.
And then you get kind of stuck in the everlasting like cycle and debate of like, how do you affect change? Do the means justify the ends? And I mean, to me, the way that they tackle this stuff is part of what makes the anime so interesting to me. So I like that the darkness is there because it's real.
Can you sign my sketchbook, please?
Yeah. Yes, I will sign your sketchbook.
Hey.
Hi, my name's Remy.
Hi.
Hey, Remy.
So, I've been following Elizabeth for a while with being Finian from Black Butler, and also you as Frances Midford.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Finny and Francis.
Right. What can we do for you? So, basically I want to know, like, how do you guys get ready for your sessions? Because I know Michael J. Tatum had a whole thing with Steins Gate where he kind of got lost in the characters. So I was wondering if you guys had like a similar effect on that.
Remy, I just drive to the studio singing at the top of my lungs the whole time. And I got a long drive. I got like a 3-hour drive. So by the time I get there, I feel like I'm nice and seasoned.
My little actor's secret, the kind of condensed answer, is that I discovered for voice acting a trick that worked really well for me is that when I was cast as a new character, I would come up with a line or a phrase that either was written or that I came up with myself that kind of like encompassed like the essence of that character for me. And I have that line because, a lot of times, like, we're doing, like, multiple characters in a day, and it's like you have to be able to, like, switch back and forth between voices and, like, personalities and stuff. And so I found that with that kind of, like, hook, that phrase, by repeating it multiple times, I can kind of, like, immediately sink into the personality and the voice of that character.
I've actually done that too. I guess I wasn't lying, but I forgot about that.
Would you like to change your answer?
Well, no. My first answer is usually true, but there are characters where I've got to use like an especially difficult accent, or like I played Lo Wang in the Shadow Warriors series of games, which he had kind of a Bruce Lee accent. So whenever I had to go back in, I'd be like, "You want to be like water, my friends, formless, shapeless. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I said that to myself, then I'm like, all right, I'm Lo Wang again.
Before I go, can I hear you say something in Albedo?
What? Sure. With
Just,
Dealer's choice, baby.
I'm still waiting for my body pillow. No, seriously, I haven't gotten one yet. And I need it. So bad.
I'll give it to you, baby.
I know. Who needs a body pillow when you're around?
We do that too.
I like my real life men a little more fleshed out, I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you both. I love you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
I'm becoming a voice actor.
Oh, cool.
I have 2 questions. The first, what's the hardest part about trying to become a voice actor?
Well, I feel like my general answer is kind of what I already touched on in terms of like that you do have to kind of handle a lot of rejection and being able to maintain both enthusiasm and drive in the face of that can be difficult, which is why I always kind of say surround yourself with people who support you and tell you yes, because you will hear a lot of no's in this industry. So having like a good support system is really integral to me.
It's hard to stay positive, dude. Like that's the hardest part for me, honestly. Like when you deal, it's like what she said. When you deal with the rejection, bye everybody, you guys are already splitting.
Well,
I mean, we are close.
I think we only have like 5 minutes left.
We only have, yeah, we basically have time for a couple more questions and that's it. But she's right. Like learning how to stay cool in the face of adversity, that's the hardest part of acting in general, not just voice acting.
And my second question is, how long did it take for you to become voice actors?
Oh shoot, man. I started when I was 5. Started voice acting like 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say from the time that I really put my mind to it to when I kind of...
It's like 2 weeks for her.
No, I mean like a good, like 6 to 8 months before I started booking any work, but then it was several years before I was able to work enough in the industry to support myself and not have to have like, other types of jobs. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Tyler. Take care.
Speed round.
Hi, my name's Delaney.
Hi, Delaney.
So I have a question for both of you. For Midnight, how do you really feel about super thin fabrics in real life?
I mean, hey, if you got the nerve to wear it, I am all for it. But I wore enough super thin fabrics. I was in ballet for 18 years. I've had my share of like tights and leotards, so I'll stay with stuff that's slightly more forgiving for the time being.
And for Dabi, can you please sign these for me? It's for me and my friend, because my friend's not here right now.
You know what? Yeah, I don't have anything to do. Do you have something to sign with?
Does anybody have a marker?
Maybe tell her to stick around afterwards with them. Go ahead and ask your other question.
Hi, my name's Alexis.
Hi, Alexis.
I just wanted to say at first that Dabi is my favorite character in the we gotta go.
Whose Sharpie was this? Thank you.
And my question's for both of you. What's your opinion about Dabi being a Todoroki or Toya Todoroki?
I think I'm going to be really disappointed if that's not true. I don't know anything. I know nothing. I want to point that out. I know nothing. I know nothing. But, come on. I mean, it makes so much sense. I mean, he's a damaged kid, man. His dad did him wrong, right? I mean, his motives, I mean, they're messed up, all right? I get it. But it's all about perspective. It's about where you came from. And if your dad pushed you away like that, I mean, think about how you'd feel. I'm getting too personal about this. All right. Okay.
What he said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's 6:29, guys. We got to get to Benjamin Oscar, and then he's our last question.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
My name is Chris Ferguson, featured cartoonist.
Chris Ferguson, featured cartoonist. How are you?
I was wondering, are you two very excited for season 4?
Yes! Yes! I want to know who I am, man! Okay, I got a little personal. Thanks, Chris Ferguson, featured cartoonist.
Question.
Benjamin Oscar, ladies and gentlemen, he's our last question today. I'm sorry for those of you who lined up behind Benjamin Oscar, but we are out of time.
Hey, we have one more signing session tomorrow, so feel free to come and ask us your questions.
We do. We will
then.
take questions at those.
This is actually Dragon Ball Super related.
All right.
Do you have like a favorite line or scene from it? Now it's done.
I didn't come here to make friends. Slap. That was my favorite moment.